Hi there, it's David John, the Resourceful Coach, and what we're going to talk about today is those sort of chipping shots from sort of inside 50 yards, where often I see people thin the ball over the other side of the green, or they fat the ball, which means they're going to hit the turf before the ball and then it goes halfway, and they get very frustrated very, very quickly. So we're just going to show you some simple techniques and understanding of what to do to make sure this never happens again. Okay, you start to get more consistent strikes, and then in your practice you can then work on very, very easily the power that you need to play each shot as you go through. Now what I find quite interesting, we're going to do two shots today. We're going to do just a little chip and run onto the green. We're going to go through the technique of that first, and then we're going to take it back to 50 yards. And what I find is that golfers mentally play these shots in two completely different ways, and I want you to think the same way all the time, because if you can, you're going to create consistency in your game. When I walk onto the golf course, I have very few swing thoughts, very few techniques in a sense. I don't go out there with like 20 different techniques of how I'm going to hit each shot. I go out there with a basic swing, a basic understanding of what I'm doing in my short game, and that's pretty much it. And then I adapt to what's in front of me. And that's what you have to do with this game. But I keep it as very simple as I can, okay? So we're going to look at a little chip shot onto the green. And when we're only a few feet off the green, and we're looking at a shot maybe approximately 15 yards to the hole, but you've got approximately 5 yards of rough grass to go over and then 10 yards of green, we need to understand the type of shot you need to play. And the simple thing, if you can do it, is low risk shot is hit it low. High risk shot is hit it high. And that's where I see people struggle with these two shots. Because as soon as they go further away from the hole, they start to think they have to change their technique to make the ball go higher. But you don't. That's the important thing to understand. So let's start with the standard shot. This is very, very simple, all we're looking for. And I'm going to give you what I call safety factors. Things that if you do them correctly and keep it simple, you will find it much, much easier to get the results that you want. So what causes these bad shots? The thin is when we're coming into the golf ball. Just bring it up to the camera here. Oh, so I'm just checking nobody's coming down. If we bring it to the camera, a thin shot is when you're striking the golf ball much more part way up the ball. So you're striking it more there rather than at the bottom. Heavy shot is you're hitting the ground way before the ball. Okay, and we're going to show you just on this little simple chip and run shot type shot, the setup that we need to do, and then we need to take that back out to 50 yards. That's really important to understand. So what causes those faults? The biggest thing is golfers mentally think they've got to get the ball up in the air. So what they do is when they go to play the shot, they lean back, and now what happens is the club is on the up. That's the more likely to hit the thin. But if you do it extreme, the low point of the swing, which is controlled by an area of your body, what we call your sternum, which is great because today I've got my sort of microphone on that area. If I lean back, I could catch the ground. So that's the biggest reason I see golfers fail at the shot. So we're going to give you lots of things in your setup that will make it easier to get the desired result that you want. So number one, mentally, where do we put that sternum? The sternum's the key thing. We want to put the middle of your chest. If you've got a zipper on your top like I've got, we want to get that zipper towards the front, if not just slightly ahead of the ball. So we're going to just use another golf ball. We're going to put another ball on the ground. We've got a red one here. And I want you to create a setup where you feel your sternum, so in my case the microphone, is at the front of the second ball. So you feel you're around about 2 inches ahead of the golf ball. That's what I want you to think. And you can do this two ways, okay? But the simplest way is ball position. Okay, now the other thing I always say to people, stance is really important when you're chipping. So we want to narrow the stance. We don't want a big stance. We're only looking to hit this ball, as we said, at most 15 yards. So we don't need a big stance. Again, big stances tend to mean you're going to use big body movements. We don't want that. Simplify it. So I'm going to put my sternum in line with the front of that ball. I'm going to go narrow stance. That looks now as if the ball is slightly nearer my back foot. This ball here, the one that I'm going to play. We take the red ball out, and now that's what we see. So we're favouring sort of the instep of my right foot as a right-handed golfer. My sternum is already ahead of the ball. Even if I'm just in that position and I make a very simple stroke, there's my contact. As simple as that. That's all I've got to do. Now, what a lot of people say to me, where'd you put your weight? Well, it's the sternum that's the key thing. But if you're worried you are going to lean back and there's that fear of that happening, then just favour from that ball position, just favour you've got 60% of your weight on that front foot. Okay, and that gets you the feeling again, you're going to get that contact on the ball. You can see the ball just popping away nicely as we get the result. Sorry, I'm on one of the holes, so I'm just checking no golfers are coming down the hole. Okay, so that's our basic idea of what we're looking to do. I think that's the important thing. Now, technically then the swing, what we want to do is keep as little movement as we can on this shot. And what I mean by that is when you're playing the shot, we don't want to feel we're getting a lot of wrist movement in the shot. I call it the Y position, okay? And it's a Y that runs basically through my left arm, the shaft of the club, and that looks quite straight, the Y there, and I maintain it on this shot. This little tiny little, as we said, 15-yard little chip and run shot. You can call it a pitch shot as well. People say to me, you're hitting it high-low. That's determined by the loft of the club. But the tendency will be on this type of shot, because it's not a powerful shot, it's not going to go tremendously high. Okay, so I call it a low shot. I'm doing this just with a standard pitching wedge around the edge of the greens. That's my choice of club. Okay, so now let's get those safety factors. Okay, now this is another key thing I would say to golfers. When you're chipping, have 2 or 3 practice swings. Feel the shot, create the setup, create the idea of the shot to how you're going to play it. So you can see there in my practice swing, I'm developing the stance idea. The ball would be back in my stance, my sternum's ahead of the ball. From there, I'm keeping the Y position. So I'm practicing all those things. And now all I've got to decide, depending on the distance that I've got to go, is how big a swing I'm going to make. Okay, that's the important thing from there. From there, it's just making that swing to pop the ball forward. But you can see how I'm maintaining very little movement in the shot. And that allows me, because of the setup, the low point of my swing now is always going to tend to be where we had the front of that red ball. Let's put him back there. So that's what I'm imagining. I'm imagining reaching that low point, and that's why I've got my setup in these positions. Okay, imagine the front of the red ball is sort of, in a sense, in the middle of my stance. That means the ball I'm going to hit is now just inside my back foot. There's my sternum. If you want to put a little bit of weight on your left side, do it, 60% there. Now think of the Y shape back. The low point is going to be here. I'm going to hit the ball. I'm going to get the strike. Straight away, no thins, no fats. That's just the simple shot. Now, mentally, because we're not looking to hit the ball high, I tend to find golfers get that shot pretty quickly. But as soon as we go back to 40, 50, 60 yards, that's where the problems come in. So that's where we're going to spend a bit more time on that type of shot, because I think that's the biggest problem that we have when we're pitching into the greens. So here's our second shot, and it's that 40-yard shot that I see people have. And it's probably one of the shots I think golfers, we don't practice it enough. We're not very good at it. And now all of a sudden also what we mentioned earlier, we suddenly think we've got to get a little bit of height. So what do we do when we play the shot? We think, well, we've got to make the ball go up. So this is where I see all those ideas we just talked about on the shorter shot. We don't take those ideas into it, and we will do in a second. We see golfers put it off their front foot thinking, well, that's going to add loft. But where's that put the sternum behind the ball, a lean back, and bang, it's gone. Thinned it straight over the other side of the green. I mean, that's gone in a bush. All of a sudden, I've played 2 nice shots down this hole. Chip it on, I'd make a 5 quite easily. And I've turned that very, very quickly. Now, probably got to take a penalty drop. It's not going to be a good place to drop it. It's going to be a tougher chip. I'm probably going to walk off here with probably a 7 or an 8. So total disaster. So let's keep it simple. Let's make sure that what we're doing, what we talked about with the short chip, we're doing exactly the same. We're only going to change one thing. Now that one change is just simply going to be the length of the swing, and that may slightly change my setup depending how long that swing is, but that's all I've got to change. We've set it up with the red ball again. So I'm going to set up 40-yard shot, exactly the same idea. What I want to feel is when I'm playing this shot, I want to get that red ball in the middle of my feet, the ball that I'm playing nearer my back foot. The sternum is that 2 inches ahead of the ball. That's what I'm looking for. Mentally now, when I play the shot, I'm thinking of my Y position. But obviously, if I only go to here, I'm not going to hit it far enough. I now need to make a bigger swing. And something will get involved in the swing, which are your wrists. Let them get involved. That doesn't mean I'm saying to you, right, you've got to make them work. They will naturally work. If you're gripping the golf club correctly, and I mean position and pressure, the wrists will start to naturally cock, and they will naturally uncock. But if your body is in the right position, the low point of the swing is here because it's in line with the sternum, and you allow that to uncock itself coming down, the handle of the golf club will just be slightly ahead of the ball. The low point then bottoms out when it catches up to the handle of the club. So we haven't changed anything. Now all I'm going to do slightly, because it is a slightly longer shot, I'm going to sort of make the stance a little bit wider, but I'm feeling the shot. That's really important. Okay, what I'm not doing is suddenly going back to a full setup. Look straight away, look where the ball position is. All of a sudden now it's gone much more central. I don't want that. I want to feel the red ball is center, the ball I'm playing is back in my stance, and all I'm changing is the length of that swing. Okay, so from there, keep that there. Again, look how I've got the microphone there at the front of the ball. Keep it there. There's the Y shape, little bit of wrist cock. There's the strike. You can hear it. It's a nice contact. Ball's gone up onto the green. The grooves are going to start gripping the ball. You're getting so many things where you're getting control of the shot. And the first priority is contact. If the contact is consistent, then you can start working out the power. What would be a good shot from here? Anything really within 25 feet is a good shot. So imagine the red ball. Get your sternum in line with it. Narrower stance. Weight favouring the left side, 60%. Length of swing. Strike. Ball's popped forward. Very happy with that result. So we're going to play a few more shots, but we're going to show you how the ball's reacting on the green so you get an understanding of what we're looking to achieve. That's really important for you to get the feeling of the shot that we're playing. So here we are, we're just going to play 4 shots into the green. Let's just watch them and see how they react on the green. Let's get that idea of where the sternum is, get the weight on that left side. The low point is after the swing. 40-yard pitch shot. Here we go. Just using my gap wedge. Watch each shot. You can see that one didn't give it enough to get there, but the contact was brilliant. So I can learn from that shot every time. Now when I land it over that ball, that's quite a nice little marker. Land it over it. Because we're on winter greens, green stopping really quickly. So I can probably land it over that one. That's probably ended up about 15 feet short. Still okay, decent result. All I'm making is the swing bigger. Sternum's ahead of the ball. Really had the confidence to throw that one up. I might have gone past the camera view, but that's probably within about 8 to 10 feet, but that was really nice. So all three, the contact's good, and that's the idea of this video. Get the contact right, bit of practice, you can work on the power. And the last one there, probably inside 10 feet. So here's our recap on what we've done. As we said, we're stopping those thin and fat shots. And the key thing is all about getting your setup right, keeping it simple, making sure you're using the club the way it's designed. If you do that, you're going to have a lot of fun. Those shots will disappear. You'll never do them again. So as we've got here, just our routine, we've got that red ball. We're thinking of the sternum. The sternum's the key thing. I want to get the sternum ahead of the ball because that gives me the low point of the swing. If the sternum falls back, there's your fault. I'm leaning back. What am I going to do? I'm going to try and help the ball up. I'm going to hit the ground. I'm going to top it. I'm not going to get the result that I want. So get the sternum. I've got my microphone. You've got the zipper on your top. Get a ball ahead. And it will look now as if the ball has moved back in your stance. And that's the easiest way to do it. And then just to confirm that idea, if we're just doing a little chip and run shot, we're just going to go very narrow. But from there, we're just going to put a little bit of weight left side. And you can see that shaft just favouring the front of the ball. We're not leaning it miles forward. You'll never see a tour player like this. Just doesn't happen. We're just doing these things subtly. That's the key thing. And then it's our Y shape for the little chip and run. There, boom. There's the contact. There's the clean connection. Now, if I want to hit that ball a little bit further, look what I'm doing. I'm keeping the same idea. There's my red ball. I've gone to a gap wedge because I want a little bit more height because I want to hit it 40 yards. But the principle stays the same. I'm thinking of the sternum at the front of the ball. Okay, the red ball. Getting it more into that position. Automatically now that ball moves back in my stance. So the sternum's in the right place. Okay, the stance, if you wish, can get a little bit narrower, but we don't want a full stance. That creates a feeling of energy and force. We're only looking to hit it 40 yards. So I'm keeping the same idea from there. All I'm doing now, making that swing a little bit bigger, but I've still got the Y shape going through the ball. And you saw with the shots we just showed you, if you get it right, you'll get the height, you'll get control on the ball, but it's all about contact. If the contact's right, those thin and fat shots, they've gone. You're never going to see them again. That's the key thing. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you soon.